Over 500 K through 12 schools across the United States have allowed the CCP to establish itself in their halls under the guise of Confucius classrooms. But when you pull back the curtain on these cultural exchange centers, you find a CCP-backed agenda that undermines the principles upon which our education system is built.
Well, that was Florida Congressman Aaron Bean presiding over a recent exploring whether the Chinese Communist Party is infiltrating our public schools. So what are these so-called Confucius classrooms, which are supposed to promote Chinese language and culture? For more on this, let's bring in the political director of Parents Defending Education Action, Alex Nestor, and also the director of community engagement of Parents Defending Education, Mailyn Salabarria. All right. So, Alex, let me start with you. 500 K through 12 schools, as we heard, offer these cultural programs. Yeah, I mean, that in and of itself isn't bad, obviously. You're saying, though, that it gives China access to students' personal information, and don't they already get that from TikTok?
Well, look, we were able to verify 143 school districts that have ties to the Chinese government. And really, we don't know a lot of what's going on. And that's the biggest issue here. The only regulation for foreign funding in schools is at the higher ed level and only for grants over $250,000. So we don't know a lot about the information that's coming in or going out back to China because of these programs. That's the biggest issue and threat that we face.
Are these public schools? Are they private, parochial? What are they?
Public and private.
Okay. All right, so during the hearing, you had Oregon Democratic Congresswoman Susana Bonamici. She said there's no link to the Chinese government or any national security issues with these Confucius classrooms. Take a listen.
Unfortunately, today's hearing has been another part of the majority's extreme MAGA agenda to inject culture wars and partisan politics into our public schools in a way that can fuel anti-Asian American bias and provide a platform for claims that have been found by a comprehensive investigation to be unsubstantiated, not well documented. I want to say I agree with Mr. Thompson from Pennsylvania that the problem is not the Chinese people, the problem is the Chinese government. Unfortunately, that's often not the way that it's perceived by the public when we have a hearing like this.
All right, so Mailyn, being the well-trained Democrat that she is, the Congresswoman, of course, blames the extreme MAGA agenda for fueling anti-Asian hate. Can they ever be serious about anything?
Absolutely not. And I kind of speak as another parent in the communities that we're in contact with constantly. There is a legit and a serious concern about transparency. Parents and administrators in these programs do not know the details of these curriculums. And we're not in Cuba, and I can speak as, as a Cuban that was born and educated in a communist country. And we have a constitutional right as parents to direct the upbringing and education of our children. And the first step to do that, Rob, is to be able to inspect the material and the curriculum, to be able to make informed decisions about the topics and the issues that our children are being educated on. And that right now is not happening with these Confucius classrooms.
So, Alex, one of the red flags from the committee is the connection between Confucius schools located near U.S. military bases. Nothing else we know of, but is there a national security risk, or is this just kind of a bunch of nothing?
Well, I think overall it's a national security risk when we are letting Chinese government officials in the front door of our schools. Nonetheless, schools that are near 20 military bases. Look, we already have an issue of student data security and data privacy. There's no real set standard for how this data is stored. And especially for students, of active military personnel, if you have, Chinese government officials coming into the school, whether it's, as a teacher, again, we don't really know what information is being sent back to China. And it's possible that there could be some information that is garnered about military families. And that is a serious national security threat.
So, Mailyn, you're a mom of two. How informed are parents to what's actually being taught in these cultural programs?
Well, most of the parents that we are in contact with, they are just in shock just by learning that there is this funding coming into these programs that are being sold in a lot of IB, both like Alex said, public and private school, as cultural and language immersion programs. So the concern of indoctrinations that parents have is a legit one, because again, there is no transparency and no clear access to the curriculum and the materials, and parents don't know what's happening in those classrooms.
All right, Alex, Nestor, Mailyn Salabarria, thank you so much for being with us. We'll keep an eye on this one.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.